Seriously? Hey guys, and welcome to another video with myself, 6+ Stevo. So exciting times. The pre-orders have gone live. At the time of recording this, chapter approved 2019 is up for pre-order and will be released next week. It costs £20 sterling, so I don't know what the translation that is in dollars and euros. I think it's about 25 euros, dollars, possibly. I might be wrong on that, but yeah, £20, which is reasonable. I think, if I remember correctly, the 2018 edition of Chapter Approved, I think, was £18. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I'm not 100%. It was a year ago now. But yeah, I know some people were talking that they were worried that this edition of Chapter Approved was going to cost more than previous editions. And the reason for that worry was that this edition is coming with not one, but two books. We've got the standard Chapter Approved book, as we always get, but alongside it we have the, right, let me see if I can pronounce this, the Munitorum Field Manual. I think I've pronounced that correctly. So yeah, the Munitorum Field Manual also comes with this book, and this is a little extra booklet that comes with Chapter Approved and includes all the points costs for all miniatures, all factions in 40k, not just the stuff that's changed. In previous editions of Chapter Approved, in the back of Chapter Approved, we've had just the points changes. You know, when things have gone up or gone down, they've been included in the back of the book. Now they've included this separate booklet that just has all the points costs, even the stuff that stayed the same. And personally, I think this is a really good thing, actually. If you're like me, when you're making your lists, you're constantly flipping from the data sheets to the back of the book to see how much stuff costs. Now having the points in a separate book to have alongside your codex when making lists, personally I think it's going to be really useful. And if it's only bumped the price up by like £2, then do you know what? I'm okay with that. And so Chapter Approved itself will come with all the usual stuff, new rules, new missions, etc, and all that fun stuff. But this video is not about that. This video is purely about the points changes, because these have been revealed. There are various other YouTubers out there much bigger than myself who have been fortunate enough to get early copies of Chapter Approved, and there's been various things online and threads and stuff talking about the points changes and stuff. So I've been watching this stuff all day. I've been looking online at various things, and what I wanted to do was bring a video to you guys telling you about what the point changes are for just the Ork units. This is an Ork channel after all. We couldn't give a rat's ass about these pansies or these fancy oomies. We don't care. We don't care. What we want to know is what points have changed, what points have dropped, what points have gone up for our stuff, the Orks. So without further ado, let's crack straight on with it. So yeah, here we go. We have, to start off with, Burner Boys will now cost 10 points. Previously they cost 12 points, so they've dropped by 2 points each. This is really nice. Burner Boys, I think, are undervalued by a lot of players out there. I know a lot of players in the community don't rate Burner Boys. I think they're okay. Yes, they're not quite as strong as they could have been or have been previously, but I think at 10 points a pop, you know, doing D3 auto hits and basically coming with power weapons, they're not to be sniffed at. They're really not. 10 points a pop for Burner Boys is beautiful news. Also, knobs on war bikes, 33 points, previously 38. So they've had a 5-point drop. Going back to like the days of 5th edition and stuff, war bike and knobs were really popular, very powerful. I don't think they're quite up to that level, but a 5-point drop each is definitely helpful. So I think we may see a few more knobs on war bikes on the table. Then we got the big one, the big daddy, literally and figuratively, the Stomper. 800 points, was 850, so he's at a 50 points drop. That's crap. I'm sorry, that's just crap. He needed to drop by 150, 200 even, to make a viable choice. At least 100 minimum, because he's still way overcosted in my opinion at 800. But having said that, 50 points less is welcome. You know, any drop is welcome. So there you go, guys. It's not as good as we would have hoped for, but at least he's heading in the right direction. 800 points for the Stomper. Next up, a good one for me, Death Dreads. 45 points each. Drop down from 55, so 10 points cheaper. And Death Dreads, for me, they perform well. I get good results out of my Death Dreads if I use them correctly. So them dropping down 10 points makes them even more of an auto-include in my army, because I love my Dread mobs. I do love a Dread mob. So yeah, 45 points for a Death Dread is lovely jubbly. Next, we got Flash Gits, 24 points. Drop down from 30 points, 6 points cheaper. This is brilliant. Flash Gits they're good. They've got some good DACA, very nice. I think they were a little bit overcosted, so dropping 6 points each is very nice indeed. And then we've got the Killer Cans. Now, Killer Cans, they've been underperforming. You know, I don't think many people rate Killer Cans, and rightly so. They're I've said in previous videos, they're kind of a jack of all trade, master of none. They're okay at shooting. They're okay in combat. They're just all right, but they just weren't worth the points. And I found that I was never getting the points back when I was using them. So they are now coming in at 30 points. They were 40 points, so that's a 10-point drop for Killer Cans, which is very welcome indeed. Then we move on to the sort of fast attack section. Now, this is the section of the codex that has seen the most drops. Yeah, some big drops as well. We start off with the Boom Daka Snazwagon, is now 75 points. Previously 95 points, has had a 20-point drop. Very nice. So, yeah, that's good. Another big one for me, and I just know this is going to make a lot of people happy, the Death Copter. Down to 20 points from 30. It's dropped by 10 points. This is music to my ears. Death Copters have been ludicrously costed. Their points have been sliding down gradually with like the release of Codex and stuff after the Index. They were started off being obscenely priced. But yeah, 20 points for a Death Copter now, minus War Gear, is going to make them much more viable, because they're a good unit. They're a very versatile unit, but they just overcosted. So I personally plan to use Death Copters a lot more now. The Custom Booster Blaster, 80 points, was 100. Another one that's dropped by 20 points. The Mega Track Scrapjet, 80 points. He's dropped down from 90, so he's dropped by 10 points. The Rucker Truck Squig Buggy, 100 points. Previously 140 points. So he's dropped 40 points. That's crazy. Obviously that was, I mean, you'd have to excuse me, guys, I have very little experience, well, no experience with all these new buggies, because I didn't get any of them. I don't use any of them. But obviously the Rucker Truck was vastly overcosted. It's a cool model, really cool model, one of my favourites of the new range. So good to see that drop by 40 points. You'll probably see a lot more of them on the table now. And the last of the fast attack section is the Shock Jump Dragster, I think is one of the more popular choices. That now costs 90 points, previously 108, so that's dropped by 18 points. I'm sure that'll be a welcome drop for a lot of Ork players out there. And then the last bits to talk about is in the ranged weapons, the Scorcher missiles. They cost 5 points now rather than 20, so they've dropped down by 15 points, which is very substantial. Very nice indeed. Anyone using burner bombers will be really pleased about this, I'm sure. Makes them a lot more viable. They were ridiculously costed, let's be honest, so that's very welcome. And then our only points increase is the Smasher gun, which now costs 18, jumped up from 16, so that's gone up 2 points. And yeah, like I said, it's the only thing that's gone up, which is good. We didn't want anything else going up. And yeah, I think Smasher guns have been the most popular mech gun variant. I think we see them used in a lot of armies, probably one of the more competitive builds. Personally, myself, I'm all about the custom mega cannon. It's a lot more expensive, but I think it's a lot better. But yeah, the Smasher gun, I think, probably was the most competitive. So jumping up 2 points, yeah, it's a sting, but I don't think it's going to affect that many people. How many of them do you actually use? Most people have just a couple of mech guns in their force, so a couple of extra points. You're saving much more than that elsewhere. I don't think it's going to affect people using them. I think it's just balancing them out a little bit. And they probably were just a little bit undercosted for how good they were. But yeah, there you go, guys. That is all the points changes that are in the Munitorum Field Manual. I think I've got all these right. I've been doing my research today, looking at other people and seeing what the points are and seeing the leaks and stuff. So get this information out to you guys. But yeah, so feel free to freeze these images and, you know, make some changes in your codex and stuff. But we'll get the book in our grubby mitts in about a week's time. So I can't wait personally just to see all the new stuff in chapter approved. And I think it's going to be really handy having all the points in a separate book format like that. I think that's nice. But what I will say about these points drops is that we can't get too excited about them, because virtually every faction has had massive point drops across their ranges, and actually a lot of the other factions have had a lot more points drops than we've had, a lot more. And so points drops are nice, but if everyone's getting them, they don't necessarily, you know, mean that much, because, you know, yes, it's nice that we're getting more bang for our buck, but then so is your opponent, so you're not really gaining anything. But what I think it does is balance the stuff within the codex itself. So I think things like killer cans, burner boys, knobs on wall bikes, etc., are now that bit more viable. They were competing with other units now, and so I think it's sort of just balance things within each codex. And some of these drops are lovely. Like if you're running a Rucker Truck Squig Buggy, you're saving 40 points there. That is beautiful. And I am so chuffed about the Defcopters. Defcopters, I've been saying it for ages. They're just stupidly costed. They're good units, but they just cost too much. So it's lovely to see them come down in points. It's just a shame about the Stomper. It really is. The other thing to think about with this is, although we've only had the one thing that's gone up slightly in points, being the Smasher gun, effectively what this means is that anything that hasn't gone down has kind of been nerfed, because everything else out there, a lot of other units out there from other factions, have come down in points. So if you're looking at things like Mega Knobs, you know, Tank Busters, Looters, etc., they've stayed the same. Which, you know, I don't think they needed to change points, but they are now, the fact that they haven't changed means that they've kind of have been effectively nerfed a little bit, because loads of other stuff has had points drops. But look, they're balancing the game out like they always do, tweaking the points and stuff. It's going to happen every year, and personally, I'm quite pleased about it. I think we've done quite well. There's various units in here that I use regularly. Def Dreads in particular is a good one. I like running 3 Def Dreads, so that in itself saved me 30 points. And Defcopters, just lovely. 10 points each on them, and cans. Yeah, I'm pleased about it. I'm pleased about it. There is more that I would have liked to have seen. There's some things that I can't believe they didn't drop. I would have liked to have seen Scorchers of all types, whether it be combi Scorchers, normal Scorchers. I would have liked to have seen them come down a bit, because yeah, Scorchers are good, but they're just overpriced. I'm sorry, because they're very situational, and the amount of times I've included them in my lists and then during the game haven't had the opportunity to use them, it's a lot of points. It really is a lot of points. And generally, if you do use the Scorchers, quite often you only get to use them once. It's kind of a one-trick pony. So I would have liked to have seen Scorchers come down at least just a little bit. The mech, the standard mech, not talking big mech here, just standard mech, I think is stupidly priced and just not worth it at all. And I just very rarely see, other than just trying to fill up a little bit of points in your list, I don't see any real reason to take a mech. I just don't see them as being a viable choice. Same with runt herds. I would love to take runt herds, but I virtually always end up leaving them at home because I just don't see them as viable. They're just overcosted. They need, in my opinion, runt herds need to be about half the cost that they currently are. They're just far too expensive. The whole point in taking grots is that it gives you a cheap unit. If you're having to then take a runt herd to get the most out of them, but by adding the runt herd, you may as well have just paid the points and had boys. I think it kind of just makes the runt herd pointless, and they need to come down in points. The other thing I would have liked to have seen come down in cost that stayed the same, the Grotzuka. The Grotzuka is useless, absolutely useless at its current points. It's 10 points, whereas a big shooter is 5 points, and the big shooter for half the points does a much better job. The Grotzuka just has no place. It is overcosted. If it could come down in points, then it would be viable. Or its stats need to change. It needs better stats. The Grotzuka's just no good. When your other options are big shooters, rocket launchers, custom mega blasters, the Grotzuka there's just absolutely no point in taking a Grotzuka. And speaking of which, the big shooter, I would have liked to have seen the big shooter come down a bit. I like big shooters, but at 5 points a pop, I think they're personally a little bit overcosted. I'd like to see them at 3 points or 4 points. They're, for what they do, and I think a lot of Ork players generally say that they leave big shooters at home. They don't add a big shooter in with their boys mobs and things because they just think they'd rather save the points and have more boys. So I would have liked to have seen big shooters just shave a little bit off. And the last one, the Mech Boy Workshop, has stayed the same points. The most useless thing in our entire codex. It's just absolutely, the rules for that thing are an absolute joke, as we all know. But look, if it had been dropped to if its points had been slashed in half, then maybe it'd be worth having in just for a laugh or something. But yeah, still 80 points, still completely pointless. Just absolutely no point in ever taking them. Lovely bit of scenery though. The only other thing I wanted to mention as well that is really interesting with this is that there is one unit that gets mentioned within these points, which I found very interesting. And that was the Big Mech with KFF. He is listed in the Munitorum Field Manual. His points haven't changed, but just the fact that he's mentioned, because nothing else that has been extracted from the codex was mentioned. For example, War Boss in Mega Armor, or Pain Boy on Bike, etc. were just not mentioned. But from what I'm hearing, he is listed in there. Now that's interesting because this is one of the units that we're kind of expecting to see in the upcoming Legends. But yeah, look, maybe it's a typo. Maybe that information that's been leaked out is wrong. But I just thought it was worth a mention because maybe, just maybe, the backlash at taking out the Big Mech with KFF, maybe GW have seen the error of their ways, and maybe this is an early indication that he might be coming back. You never know. Possibly something to do with Psychic Awakening, maybe. Look, I don't want to get everyone overly excited and read far too much into this, but I think it's just worth noting that he's mentioned and listed in there, which is unusual because he's not in the codex. So yeah, like I said, could be a typo, could be misinformation. I don't have the book in my hands as of yet. I'm not, one of the favoured by GW. But look, anyway, there you go, guys. I just wanted to share this information with you and share my thoughts with you. Share your thoughts below. If I've missed anything out or got anything wrong or anything, please share that in the comments. But look, I just wanted to get this out there and share it with you guys so you get early update on what's happening. But yeah, like I said, pre-orders are live now. So get yourself over there, get this pre-ordered, because it's going to be kind of an obligatory purchase, I think. I certainly can't wait to get it in my hands. I love all the missions in chapter approved. I think they're far better than what you get in the standard rule book. And there's always some interesting rules changes and things in the chapter approved. So personally, I'm really looking forward to it, and I think these field manuals are actually going to be really handy, and certainly during list building are going to be really useful. But anyway, guys, that is enough from me for now. Like I said, share your comments below. Please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. And I will see you on the next video. This is 6+ Stevo, signing out.